Water pollution. Water pollution is any chemical, physical, or biological change in the quality of water that has a harmful effect on any living thing that drinks or uses or lives in it. When humans drink polluted water, it often has serious effects on their health. Water pollution can also make water unsuited for the desired use.
Human disturbances. Water pollution is happening everywhere, but one of the main places that we are going to focus on is the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes is a vast inland freshwater sea that provides water for consumption, transportation, power, and recreation. The Great Lakes include Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, and Lake Ontario. It is a dominant part of the physical and cultural heritage of North America. It is shared with Canada and spans from more than 750 miles from west to east. It is the largest freshwater system on Earth, excluding the polar ice caps. 84% of North America's freshwater comes from there, and 21% of the world's supply.
There are several causes of water pollution. The first are disease-causing agents. These are bacteria, viruses, protozoa, and parasitic worms that enter sewage systems and untreated waste. A second category of water pollutants is oxygen-demanding wastes, waste that can be decomposed by oxygen-requiring bacteria. When large populations of decomposing bacteria are converting these wastes, it can deplete oxygen levels in the water. This causes other organisms in the water, such as fish, to die. Third class of water pollutants is water-soluble inorganic pollutants, such as acids, salts, and toxic metals. Large quantities of these compounds will make water unfit to drink and will cause the death of aquatic life. Another class of water pollutants are nutrients. They are water-soluble nitrates and phosphates that cause excessive growth of algae and other water plants, which deplete the water's oxygen supply. This kills fish and, when found in drinking water, can kill young children. Water can also be polluted by a number of organic compounds such as oil, plastics, and pesticides, which are harmful to humans and all plants and animals in the water. A very dangerous category is suspended sediment because it causes depletion in the water's light absorption, and the particles spread dangerous compounds such as pesticides through the water. Finally, water-soluble radioactive compounds can cause cancer, birth defects, and genetic damage, and are thus very dangerous water pollutants.
The connection between water pollution with human waste and the outbreak of diseases such as cholera was not understood until the 1850s. In 1854, a devastating cholera outbreak gripped the Soho part of London, centering around the Broad Street Well. A physician named John Snow, in what has become one of medicine's most celebrated sleuthing cases, deduced that the cause of the outbreak was contamination of the Broad Street Well. Since no one believed him, Snow suggests taking off the well pump's handle. Once the well was not in use, the epidemic ended. The cause was later traced to washing a sick baby's dirty diapers in the cesspool that seeped into the well. Unfortunately for Soho, calls for eliminating cesspools from the vicinity of the well in that area went unheeded for quite some time.
Human activities is often the source for the reason water pollution is occurring. Different human sources add to the pollution of water. There are two sorts of sources, point and non-point sources. Point sources discharge pollutants at specific locations through pipelines or sewers into the surface water. Non-point sources are sources that cannot be traced to a single site of discharge. Examples of point sources are factories, sewage treatment plants, underground mines, wells, oil tankers, and agriculture. Examples of non-point sources are acid deposition from the air, traffic, pollutants that are spread through rivers, and pollutants that enter the water through groundwater. Non-point pollution is hard to control because the perpetrators cannot be traced.
Effects on the ecosystem. Effects on biotic factors. Water pollution affects the entire ecosystem, not just the animal that uses the chemical nutrients. Because when an animal such as the phytoplankton uses the chemical nutrients and then it is eaten by another animal, the pollutant residue transfers. The higher up the predator, the more it accumulates. It tends to increase the harmful effect on humans, too. In addition, it has caused the fish stock to decrease in the Great Lakes. The pollutants have only increased, causing many animals to die from the pollutants. An example is DDT, which has caused major health problems because it is toxic. These problems mostly happen in fish and fauna.
Water pollution can affect many abiotic factors. For example, in the Great Lakes, fertilizers and phosphate detergents lead to the lack of oxygen in the water because they cause major algae blooms. With the lack of oxygen, this leads to the demise of biotic factors such as fish and wildlife.
Short-term effects. When a chemical pollutant enters a body of water, it can impact surrounding wildlife, watershed, and residents. For example, if a chemical gets into a freshwater supply that people or animals rely on for drinking, it may no longer be safe for consumption or sanitation purposes. Toxic releases from industrial plants into the environment and agricultural runoff can threaten water supplies in the short term.
Long-term effects. Fertilizers or sewage can introduce chemicals containing nitrate or phosphate into bodies of water. Nitrate and phosphate are food for the algae in water. An overload of these chemicals will cause the algae to bloom. As the excess algae die and decay, dissolved oxygen is used up and the overall quality of the water is degraded. Aquatic life dies from the oxygen deprivation. When emissions from industrial plants like sulfur and nitrogen oxides enter the atmosphere, they can produce acid rain. Acid rain can weaken plant life, stress marine animals, and cause the soil to leak toxic metals. In some cases, chemical pollution can kill populations of beneficial species that support ecosystems, like bees. Also, when long-term exposure to chemical pollutants cause native species within an ecosystem to die, the area experiences a loss of diversity and becomes more vulnerable to invasive and undesirable species. How to remedy the disturbance?
What is already being done to help the situation? The Clean Water Act establishes the basic structure for regulating discharges of pollutants into the waters of the United States and regulating quality standards for surface water. The basis of the Act was enacted in 1948 and was called the Federal Water Pollution Control Act, but the Act was significantly reorganized and expanded in 1972, which then became the Clean Water Act. In addition, Great Lakes Water Quality Agreement was signed in 1972 between the United States and Canada in order to restore and maintain the physical, chemical, and biological integrity of the waters of the Great Lakes Basin ecosystem.
Research that exists for future remedies. One challenge is the removal of industrial water pollution, such as a cleaning solvent called TCE, from groundwater. Nanoparticles can be used to convert the contaminating chemical through a chemical reaction to make it harmless. Studies have shown that this method can be used successfully to reach contaminants dispersed in the underground ponds and at much lower cost than methods which require pumping the water out of the ground for treatment.
Some ways that we can help remedy the disturbance on small and large scales. For example, what we can do as a country or a society, and what we can do as individuals or families. First of all, do not pour fat from cooking or any other type of fat, oil, or grease down the sink. Keep it in a fat jar under the sink to collect the fat and discard in the solid waste when full. Do not dispose of household chemicals or cleaning agents down the sink or toilet. Do not flush pills, liquid, or powder, medicine, or drugs down the toilet. Avoid using the toilet or as a waste bucket. Most tissues, wrappers, dust, clothes, and other paper goods should be properly discarded in a waste bucket. The fiber reinforced cleaning projects that have become popular should never be discarded in the toilet. Avoid using a garbage disposal. Keep solid waste solid. Make a compost pile from vegetable scraps. You can install a water-efficient toilet, but in the meantime, put a brick or half-gallon container in the standard toilet tank to reduce water per flush. Run the dishwasher or clothes washer only when you have a full load. This conserves electricity and water. Use the minimum amount of detergent or bleach when you are washing clothes or dishes. Use only phosphate-free soaps and detergents. Minimize the use of pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers. These are some of the ways how you can help reduce water pollution.